Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Shanur here. I want to talk about the new normal and this, subhanAllah, this perversion of religion that we're experiencing as Muslims, right? There is something called khutuwat of shaitan. This is a gradualism that shaitan and the forces of shaitan use to dismantle Islam, to dismantle belief, right? Ultimately, the aim is to destroy faith, to destroy Islam, to destroy your iman, to destroy your faith, right? Not necessarily to take away your wealth, not necessarily to kill you, to maim you, right? Because the dunya, as we know, is temporary. But the real goal of shaitan, right from the beginning, was that I will mislead all of mankind and take them with me into the hellfire, right? So now that's what we're experiencing, right? And so you have these steps, you have these, milestones that shaitan has, right? And, across the ages, we've had over 1,000 years since the time of the Prophet ﷺ until today to look at this, like to look at how this system rise and fall, right? And the resistance against it from the people of Iman. So now we are experiencing something, we are entering into some, like a lot of the elite, the establishment, called the fourth industrial age, right? You may have heard Boris Johnson mention something called the green revolution, right? And and under the guise of carbon emissions, under the guise of fighting climate change, right? Many countries around the world, their industry, their infrastructure is being slowly dismantled, and their industry, right? Their ability to produce, and their economies basically are being ravaged under the guise, under the pretext of of wanting good for humanity, right? Similarly, now while that's happening on a macro level, on the more granular level, when it comes to down on the ground, between person to person, you have something called COVID-19, right? Under the Trojan horse of COVID-19, under the guise of COVID-19, we are being made to sacrifice our liberties. We're made to sacrifice, in particular, our religious freedoms, right? And we know, as Muslims, we know we are on the haqq. We know that Islam is true, that the Quran is true, that the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the way of salvation, is the way of not just attaining the akhirah, but also attaining the dunya. That worldly stability, that prosperity, that safety is found through our deen, is found through our salah, is found through the arkan of Islam, right? So now what's happening is through COVID-19, right? Shaitan, remember, has given up trying to make you worship idols outright. But he would make you choose the lesser of two goods until you came to kufr or shirk without even realizing, right? This is just part of the way of shaitan. So now, for example, the salah in jama'ah, we've given up voluntarily under the guise of safety, even though we've had 11 months to establish the truth, 11 months to establish the science, right? The likes of Dr. Sukrit Bhakti, Dr. Wolfgang Wodak, Dr. Muhammad Adil, Dr. Dolores Cahill, right? This is just the tip of the iceberg of thousands of doctors across the world who are fighting against this COVID-19 narrative, right? The tyranny, the evil of COVID-19. Because indeed that is the agenda, to dismantle, to destroy Islam, right? We've suffered 2 decades of the war on terror. Has that not built up a certain kind of skepticism when it comes to the mainstream, skepticism when it comes to some sort of the language that is used by governments and by these puppet politicians, by the establishment, right? You've got phrases like the Great Reset, Build Back Better, the new normal, right? And secularism is the key. Once this slow, gradual secularism takes hold of a people, especially a Muslim community, once they give in to it and are distracted by periphery, or just useless things, when the most important thing, for example, is maintaining our unity, our community on Islam, then the Muslims become ripe pickings and genocide happens, right? These are the precursors to Srebrenica, Bosnia, to what's happening to our Uyghur brothers and sisters, to what happened to Rohingya alienated in their own place. So I want everyone to understand that that's what's happening, right? Do not fall for the new normal. Hajj, Ramadan was lost. Subhanallah. Something to think about. Assalamu alaikum.